look green? I feel green.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Is it sweet sounding? Sweet sounds of the intro. And I won't hear the sound on it.
Yeah.
I don't want your pretty listen. I saw that you're ready to, I don't want your pretty listen. Oh, you want to hear it? No, all set, thanks.
Well, here we are, bud.
Here we are.
So we've done a couple of these already.
Yep. And kind of listening to the ones we've done, I feel like it's like we're so enthralled with everybody else's story that we haven't really told our own yet, which I think is a big mistake.
It's funny. We have said a number of times in this process, let's not put the horse before the horse's ass. And here we are doing exactly that.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah.
But I'm the horse and you're the
horse. I'm a horse.
Okay. So, welcome to another meeting, or the meeting, or the first meeting, or the fifth meeting, depending on where we're at with the time schedule here. It's like days of the futures past.
Yeah,
the futures.
I think we went down a pretty cool path, and then I think if we're doing this right, we're always going to be self-correcting, always growing, making it better, and listening.
Making mistakes is what you mean. That's just code.
Which is, part of life. It's, I think one of the best parts about life is like how you deal with those mistakes. And I don't think this is a blow-up mistake. I think it was just like something we realized was missing. And
we failed. We screwed up. We started and we've continued. And so obviously we have screwed up right from the get-go. We got together. I called you. I think I sent you a text message on it was like Christmas Day or like the day after Christmas. And I was like, got a mic, want to do a podcast? And you were like, let's do that. Yep. So I do what I do and just immediately jumped on a rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah. These are pretty, you know what? Apparently the rabbit hole has an end that stops where my headphones begin.
Yes. There is a lack of headphones for,
that's all right.
I didn't know, to be honest, I didn't know if they made them to fit around gigantic beards or heads. I mean, you're so successful nowadays. Do they make headphones that big?
I'm so successful that I was like, can I put $20 in my gas tank today? That's how successful I am.
Yeah, bro.
But it's, I feel like, we've been kindred spirits for a long time. I 8 years ago, 9 years ago when Greg was building Cub Room and he just looked at me and goes, "You're going to love our neighbor." And, he didn't even, I don't think he said, "Hey, how are you?" or anything like that. He just said, "Oh, you're going to love our neighbor."
Well, he doesn't do pleasantries a lot.
No, he sure doesn't.
He's more super gruff, like, fuck off.
Starting to get him out of him. He's starting to.
You got to be around him for a while to get to the soft side.
I mean,
it's there
for sure. Yeah. If Jody sees it, if Jody, a saint among saints, knows that guy's got the biggest heart on the planet.
Sorry, Greg. If somebody is mean to you, you're not around him a lot.
Oh, 100%.
Jody is still around.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
so. There's redeeming quality there.
Yeah. That's an old bar adage. The more I like you, the worse I'm going to treat you. Yeah. And if I'm not treating you terribly bad, and not in a joking, loving, we're bullying still makes sense kind of way, probably not that close with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we met way back when I first opened. We didn't know, and the hilarious part about that is we should have known each other.
Because we're both Brockport kids.
Exactly.
Yep.
So when we first met and we started talking about, random stories that would come up over a pint or whatever, may have you, Brockport. And then a name would come up and I'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
How do you know that person?
Yeah.
Well, I lived here and then I went there and I worked here and I was like, shut that front door.
Yep. 99 to 2002, I was there. And then there pretty much forever after that because I was in and out of the Brockport bar scene for a long time.
Right.
So that's kind of where my story, we separate, is that I got into beer, big time Stoneyard, like 13, 14 years ago, which is kind of crazy. I didn't know it at the time, but I thought, beer was pretty cool. And I didn't realize like what path I was going to take. My real dad, who I never knew in my entire life, my brother found me on Facebook and was like, if you'd like to meet your dad, he's dying, you should come to Oregon. And I'm like, fuck that guy, I'm not going to go see him. And then my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, said, you're going to want this closure. So at that time, I wasn't a beer guy at all. We went to Portland, like Newport, Oregon, the home of Rogue Brewing Company, and walked through Rogue, and I was like, this is awesome. And the hospitality aspect of it was awesome. And I brought that feeling back with me to Stoneyard. It was kind of wild because the Sheehan, so my dad passed away not too long after we left. We had such a good meeting with the Rogue guys that like somehow a keg of Rogue showed up at Stoneyard from the Rogue guys. Sheehan guys showed up like, I don't know who you guys are. This is from Rogue. And we celebrated with a couple pints for my old man after that. And that really lit a fuse underneath me to share that love and hospitality aspect. It was unfortunate that alcohol was for me, it was unfortunate that alcohol was the fuel behind that, where I thought like that had to be a part of it. Now, I've been sober for a year. And I'm super glad I went through that history, but at the same time, like I didn't think that I could be who I was without alcohol, and that's not true. But Stoneyard into Sheehan, 10 years, started off as a sales rep with them, moved into business development, moved into on-premise sales manager. So I was, helping take care of awesome accounts like McCann's, who didn't deserve the beer I was giving them. I beat you to the punch.
God damn it. I thought I was going to get to it first.
No shot. And that led to one of the best things I have going in my life is our friendship.
Yeah.
Because I love you. I always said how do we say it? It's like, it's just one letter separated us, the R or the F, B for beer.
There you go. Yeah. And it's interesting now because, I think both of our times at Brockport was kind of about consumption, and a lot of our life has been about consumption, and now a lot of our life is defined by the lack of consumption and what it brings to the fulfillment of everything else that we do. After Brockport, I went a different route too. I went down the rabbit hole of theater and tried to give that a shot. I actually went to Brockport to teach history and got into it and was like, yeah, that's not as much fun as goofing around in a theater. So I switched my major pretty quick and did that and had a great time with it. Did a lot of art while I was there, a lot of different forms of art, studio art, a little bit of painting, a little bit of sculpture, none of it really great, which is kind of like my MO across the board. I'm kind of like, I know a little bit about a lot of things. I am not really great at any of them, but I know about a lot of different things. And this is kind of one of those situations. So did that, ended up going to New York City, served tables in Times Square, did some auditions and some workshops, and the rat race was like way beyond me, and I smart enough to at least to realize that it was not where I was headed. So left, got into restaurants, started cooking. Through that, got into a management program. It's funny because I look back on it now and how much I didn't really, just how much I took for granted that opportunity because Carrabba's, which is the company I worked for, great opportunity, great training. Some of the basis of everything that I do from a personal and professional standpoint really did start there. And I worked there, got burned out of the industry, really kind of hated who I was working with, was at a bad place in my life too. I ended up getting divorced from my first wife, and that's how I ended up in culinary school. So rebounding from a mistake, going to hide, really for all intents and purposes, just to go to bury my head in the sand, right? And just because of how it is my work ethic goes about things, right? I got in the middle of something, and to be honest, it felt more like fantasy camp than anything else. So it was kind of fun, right? It was work, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Like you and I always talk about, right? Like hard work is always going to be hard, but it's made a lot easier if you're liking who you're around and if it's enjoyable, right?
Yeah.
So I enjoyed what it was, and there was youth around me, and it was just kind of like a chance to kick back and party again as a 30-year-old. I was like, that's what I want to do anyways.
Yeah.
And I just so happened to do well at school. Made some connections, found my wife, found literally everything else that was going to be the basis of what I was going to do moving forward. So, you fast forward, graduated, worked in a couple of restaurants, ended up in the meatpacking district working for a very major player in the game down there. Was there
Oscar Mayer?
Yeah, exactly. I was
Oscar Mayer.
I was the taste tester. All the wieners I could gobble.
All right.
Yep. So great time. But wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Was more managing, wasn't doing anything with my hands, wasn't making anything, right? So it was less than fulfilling. Moved on. Another restaurant. Good, not great. Found an investor to potentially open a butcher shop with one of my best friends from culinary school, and we were going to move out to California to do it. Cool process. Really put the bug in my head about opening up a butcher shop, and really kind of figuring out what that was all going to be about. Through that process, I got hooked up with Fleischer's at the time, and Fleischer's had an investor who was looking to hire a butcher to help them open up a butcher shop in Pennsylvania. Meetings, hired on, go through an apprenticeship with Fleischer's, learn all this stuff, all this great stuff, right? Learn even more about the process, including that was not going to be a partnership that worked for multiple reasons, all of them totally fine.
Yeah.
Everybody moved on in a great direction, including my best friend who now continues to work there and has worked there ever since. So great organization, Dunbar and Easter. Go buy meat there. While missing Pennsylvania. Long story short, ended up working for a group of farmers in Syracuse. That kind of parlayed its way into me taking all of that, just kind of crammed in culinary knowledge and butchery and a little bit of business that was kind of lumped in there, and trying to figure out how to put my money where my mouth was about feeling like I knew what was going on. In the middle of all of that, I fell in love and got married. We moved to 2 different cities, finally ended up here in Rochester, and then we opened up McCann's, and here we are. That's where your story kind of segued, and that's where my segues, like, roundabout and
full circle.
And here we are, right?
Yeah. It's weird too, because I feel like, we both went through some pretty debaucherous phases while together, as your beer guy, as you're my meat guy at McCann's, where I think we were, it's so weird to think like how many people we were entertaining, based on our debauchery, and then not really realizing what that was doing to us. I mean, what was your heaviest weight in the last 10 years?
I got all the way up to 398 pounds.
I was 340 pounds. Yeah. What are you now?
227 at the start of this recording.
Dear Lord. I don't know what I weigh now, but it's sub 270. I'm trying very hard not to look at the scale. I just want to feel good.
Yeah.
And I think that's, that's the process of like with alcohol before it was like such a crutch that I thought I needed it. I didn't even realize it was a crutch. I didn't know I was, had a handicap at all. I just thought that was part of my life. And this is how you have fun. And this is how, it's weird to me to think like so, so much of my problem, so many of my problems have been solved by not drinking anymore. Like, how are we going to get home from that party? Or how's this going to go? Or like, I'm going to be home. Or like all that shit is just gone now. And, God praise you for if you have the ability to have alcohol part of your life, and good for you. After 30 some odd years of having being a part of my life, I was like, it's weird to live without it, and I feel I've seen some real bad alcoholics. I've seen some real bad like drug folks, and I don't think I was ever really there. And maybe I was. I know that like I was definitely in my peak, like blacking out way too often and not knowing what I said or did, and like waking up in the morning like, oof, and that anxiety was just awful. And I just didn't want to feel like that anymore. And there wasn't any like bottom I hit or anything like that. I just kind of got. I'll tell you the big factor is I got invited to hunt at a place that I'll probably never get invited to hunt again because it was a beer industry thing, and the first night all of us together just drank way too many beers, but I was drinking with the folks that were going to be back there again. So it didn't really matter if they woke up hungover. I woke up hungover and just couldn't, like, I was, the next day I'm in the woods and like feeling like shit and like just so mad at myself. And I lost a day. Right. And then in the woods, I'm thinking about like, how many days have I lost? How many days do I have left? And that just like hit me like a ton of bricks. And, I had one more beer that night, and that was my last beer.
There you
and
go.
it just, that next day, I'm with an elder in like an amazing older gentleman, and he looked me in the eye, and he goes, "If I was a younger man, I'd be in the mountains today." And I was like, "Can I go in the mountains?" He goes, "Can you go in the mountains?"
and I have no doubt that that happened, and
Yeah.
you can, like, most people will never have that kind of conversation.
Well,
But how cool.
it was the coolest conversation. I mean, like that guy. I guess there's no problem. That's Johannes von Trapp, and that is like he's in his 80s now, and he is one of the.
Of course, he would say something like that.
Yeah, my time with him in camp was like, I wish we were recording. I wish I could, but I know it's in my like. I might not have all the words memorized. Might not have all the movements memorized, but I have like the feeling memorized of like what that felt like. And for him to say, if I was a younger man like you, realizing I'm still a young man, that like I have a lot of life ahead of me. That 7 miles that I did that day into the mountains, the pictures I have from that are amazing. The experience of like being, it was -6 degrees, like having everything I needed on me to like live for a day out there. And then coming home just at the end of the day, just completely wiped out, but you traded your energy for an experience that I'll have that experience for the rest of my life. And then realizing from that is like, how do I replicate that feeling over and over again? And knowing that if I'm consuming alcohol, shit that makes me feel bad, stuff like that, I can't perform at that level. And then that pretty much completely changed how I live. Now like I try not to consume things that make me feel like shit. I really try to focus on where my food
Fucked up
comes
how
from.
simple it is,
I
but
know
how hard it is to start believing.
it's the easiest thing in the world to know that like if I diet and not even diet, like if I eat right and I exercise, my life is better.
Duh.
Right? But there's so many things that come into factor that like those cinnamon rolls taste awesome. That freaking beer is gonna like loosen me up for a social, like all those things that pull away from the core you because that tastes good or this makes me feel better. But in all reality, like shade who you are just a little bit,
Absolutely.
And I know that when I eat right and I exercise, that I have little to no anxiety throughout the day. I feel awesome. I sleep awesome. Isn't it weird? Like if you work out during the day, like how much better you sleep at night?
Well, like, let's just talk for a quick second about just how much sleep,
Oh,
good
sleep.
sleep
Yep.
does for you,
Yep.
right? I mean, like, that's people talk about it, but I didn't know until I got my CPAP machine. I didn't know what good
Yeah.
sleep was.
Are you still using CPAP?
Every day?
Yeah.
With,
Do you think you'd be able to get away with
that
it?
is so many people have like their non-negotiables. Like people will say like I got to work out every single day, and I wish I had that in me to be like, oh.
Do you feel
But like if I don't wear my CPAP, I'm a wreck.
do you feel like with your weight loss that your CPAP will no longer like, because I feel like
I'll never know.
never know.
I'll never
See,
know.
I they put me down the CPAP journey, and lady came and I tried putting it on one night, and I'm like, this is terrible. I can't sleep with this thing on. And I was a proud CPAP card carrying member for about 3 days. And then that was also when I was drinking a ton. And now I feel like my consumption of gluten gives me terrible heartburn. My consumption of dairy gives me terrible inflammation. My consumption of alcohol made me sleep terribly bad. And all those three things together made me heavier than I needed to be. And with my current weight loss, I feel like the path I'm on now, I feel like my snoring, my apnea is failing. It is like leaving me.
Yeah. So the sleep apnea thing was really at the start of my weight loss.
Yeah.
I went and
I can't believe you're almost 400 pounds.
bro,
Wow. Dude, you look back at some of those pictures of us.
I had some big jowls.
Yeah. Yeah. You look back at some of those pictures of us together. It's like, I ran into a kid the other night that was like, Matt. And he goes, Jason? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, bro, you look so good. And I was like, it's hard to take a compliment.
Yeah, it's still tough for me too.
Yeah.
I look at myself in the mirror and I know that I look a lot better, but I'm still like,
Well, I had somebody yesterday say it to me, is like, do you feel better? Yeah.
at certain points.
Yeah.
I know I don't have the perspective of how I felt then.
Yeah.
But I don't need like empirical evidence to let me know that I'm in a better place now than I was then. So like that's just cooked into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, so I had to go see my sleep apnea doctor, and they told me I was dying over 100 times an hour. And that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And the only reason I even went to get my sleep apnea test was because I was having all these weird heart palpitations.
Yeah.
And I go in and they're like, well, this EKG shows that you have sleep apnea. And I was like, how can it possibly show that?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, this little blip right here. And I was like, okay, so I'll go get the test. And I went and got the test, and I didn't want to wear the machine. It makes noise. It's uncomfortable. It's whatever.
It is
right?
sexy looking though.
Well, no, it's not.
You look like Maverick.
That's an interesting way to.
Jet fighter.
Interesting.
Jet pilot.
So I wear it all the time now, to the point where so I've got this little red mark on my nose right now.
Yeah.
And it's because I had switched my mask. I was wearing a mask that went like over the mouth and under the nose.
Mm-hmm.
And now with like the mustache that I've grown out for the winter, it screws with that. It ends up pushing my mustache like straight up into my nostrils, which
that's
is
a funny feeling.
terrible to sleep with.
You ever just get that one wayward hair that goes up there? Oof.
Carry on, my wayward hair. But so I switched it to the over the nose, and that changed all of it. And I'll deal with this mark on my nose rather than the hair in my nose, or the sleep that is so terrible that I don't wear my mask, right?
Yeah.
Because it's that big. But like the weight loss, for sure, I don't have the weight loss combined with quitting drinking. My heartburn's gone.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
I was taking medicine for the heartburn for years.
Well, it's always this causes this, so take this. There's no, and this
Well,
is
drugs to counteract drugs made sense to me because of my time at Brockport, right? Because that's what we were always doing.
Yeah.
We're like, all right, let's get weird on this and then mellow ourselves out
Yeah.
with that, but get a little bit sped up with this. And, we'll find the right mix in there somewhere.
It's weird to me to have, and I'm not politically charging this statement. It's weird to me how many of my friends in college would eat whatever drugs were handed to them. Fast forward 20 years, I don't think I should get the vaccine. Bro, you'd eat drugs off the ground and be excited about it.
How many of my friends in college told me that they didn't trust deodorant because it was going to give them cancer, but they were sucking down cigarettes?
Or it's somebody said there's a good possibility that I'm leaving Africa for June, July, and August. And I guess there's a whole slew of shots you have to get. And one of my very outlying crazy friends, because I live in both these worlds, was like, bro, you're gonna let them stick stuff in you to go? I'm like, I was 17 years old and walked through a line in the Army that they gave me, I don't know, 15, 20 shots. I have no idea what any of those shots were. I could tell you that I was in the Army for a year when I was 18, and for the 3 months I was in training, I don't think I got a boner once. That's not healthy. That's not okay. So what drug did they give me at 17 years old in the 90s to be like,
Yeah.
we don't want these kids getting boners in there together?
All I know is that you and I both were patrons at Canal Side in Brockport at one point. So
It's funny.
I'm sure that we're probably immune to a lot of things because of that.
I got a video last night from inside of the old Canal Side, which is Mason's now.
Okay.
Which Mario owns, and my buddy Brendan Sonoma, they were all drinking there last night. I got a pretty funny video.
Well, the first time I went to the original Stoneyard was
Jimmy Max.
Was Jimmy Max.
Yeah, that's where I started working.
Well, so I showed up for a Stoneyard event, and it was my first time. Like, I had known the Stoneyard guys. We had been social around.
We did that badass dinner.
Well, we had been social around.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it was that dinner, but
We
it
did
was
the steamship.
There was something just prior to like that first steamship dinner that we did where I went out there for something, and I showed up and I was like, it was Ghost of Christmas Past all over the place, man. Because Jay at one point looked at me and he goes, "You look like you just saw a ghost. Are you all right?" And I was like, I might have, because I will neither confirm or deny that I puked there, and over there.
That building's been a big part of my life. So, I mean, that's when I came home from the service. I was in Brockport. I went into the bursar's office because I hadn't had a cheeseburger in like 6 months, and I asked the lady behind the office at Brockport, I'm like, where's the best place to get a cheeseburger in town? And I didn't want to hear Burger King.
Oh, they were great.
She's like, Jimmy Max. And I walked into Jimmy Max. It was like a Tuesday afternoon. The place was dead. It's like probably like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I sit down at the bar, start talking to the bartender, and didn't realize, like, and this is always the thing, it's like you never know who's in the room or who you're talking to or about or who's listening. So I'm 7 or 8 seats away from the guy at the end of the bar, and he goes, "Pretty old to be a freshman, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah, I just got home from the service and just trying to find some work in town." And he goes, "You want a job?" I was like, "Yeah." And that Friday, I was the bouncer at Jimmy Max. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I asked the bartender like that next week. I was like, why am I bouncing here? She's like, pretty much check IDs. I'm like, does anything bad ever happen here? She's like, no. Like 2 nights later, 25-man brawl broke out. Wow. And it was just, it was like,
there's not a lot of space for that to happen.
No. In that downstairs area, like tables were flying everywhere. I was just grabbing dudes. And
super dangerous at that point.
And at that point, too, I didn't know the politics of the bar. Like, oh, no, it's a friend of the bar. This guy's this guy. It was like, this guy's so-and-so. It was just me grabbing dudes and throwing them out the door. And then, like, later on hearing stories about, like, oh, that guy, we love that guy. And you bounced his head off the door on the way out. And, like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that guy's still friends. I'm still friends with that guy. But it's like, I had no idea. Like, one of the guys that worked as a competitor in the beer industry, who's very good friends in our whole group, is still mad at me for throwing him out one night.
I love that.
was like, I didn't know who you were.
Well, like, I mean, so Phil was a bouncer
Yep.
in Brockport. He's still around, you
Yeah,
know,
still
and
bouncing.
hilarious that, you know, he was at Half Pint for, he might still be at Half Pint.
Yeah, he's still checking IDs.
It's, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's those skills. I'm like, I'm bartending again. Like those skills that like never leave you, like that come in handy from time to time when you're, between jobs or, I'm just home for a few weeks right now in between jobs because a couple camps got canceled. But like I'm bartending. And I actually like Saturday night, I think I made more money than I would have made in a daily rate of my other job. I'm like,
Yeah.
weird.
Yep.
And I'm not putting that money right back into the bar.
Correct. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is, like,
You're not
a good feeling.
reinvesting into the till, right?
Yeah, yeah, which is a good feeling.
Yeah, no,
So-
but you know, so like, you know, you're talking about all the benefits and whatnot. I mean, certainly like I said, the sleep benefits, the heartburn being away. You know, I know you talk about clarity of mind and it just energy level, so many things. It's weird that when you start taking the time to listen and pay attention to your body,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
because it's telling you things all the time. And when you actually start to listen and pay attention and use that, right? How much better you can actually feel, and just makes you look backwards and go, man,
I wouldn't
I could
trade.
have done that.
I wouldn't have traded. Would never. If someone said, "Here's a Magic Eraser board, like start over," like I wouldn't trade those times. Except for the people I hurt along the way. Which was never my intent. But my drinking hurt people. I wouldn't change those times for anything. Like, it's
the times and behavior, maybe not. There, I maybe a scar or two that I could get back, right?
Yeah.
A stitch or two that I could have avoided. But
But that's us now. I think that's the.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I think it's who I am now, and I think that was like one of the questions I've been asking myself over and over. Is like, how do there's one word to like try to sum yourself up with one word. Like what is that like word boil down to? Like identifying what you are through and through. And it's just a fun brain exercise.
Sure.
To like really, but all those things all along the way. Like, what have I been the whole time? What am I going to be for the rest of my life? And it's always been, I feel like with nothing else, like, I feel like I'm an outdoorsman, I feel like that's always been there. Hopefully it's always there. And, but it is like I was saying, it's like all those bumps, bruises. It was funny to me this morning. I woke up and my right knee is just killing me to the point where I didn't want to go downstairs and work out this morning. I'm like, why does my right knee hurt so bad today? What did I do to my right knee? And there was times in my life where I was, drinking pretty heavily. I woke up the next morning. I have no idea why this pain exists. And then I remembered very quickly that I was like, oh yeah, you smashed your knee into the cooler locker last night at work. And that's why your knee hurts today. And you said to yourself, that's going to hurt tomorrow. And it totally hurts today. But it's, way better than the fact of like, did I fight a horse last night?
Exactly.
Maybe.
Because why else do I have a bruise in the shape of a horseshoe?
Right. Did I tackle a live giraffe and eat its heart? Maybe.
Or was I just doing parkour on Gregory Street?
Not well.
I would disagree. I think you were very graceful.
That might be the start of my back problem. Don't do parkour on ice, kids.
Yeah, no.
There's a reason you see like Disney on ice, you see like Lion King on ice. You don't see parkour on ice.
Nope.
Because everything changes.
Nope. Yeah. Especially not after a couple of Imperial IPAs.
Yeah. Which, I mean, no good story starts with salad.
Well,
we wouldn't be having this parkour story right now.
It's true.
I didn't just slay those 10% IPAs.
So I had this mescaline mix that was topped with a very nice vinaigrette.
Yeah.
And then
it
started.
So here we are now. After all the trials and tribulations.
Yeah, man.
I feel like I was thinking about this on the way over here. Is this my midlife crisis? Did I start everything over again because I'm like really starting to like think, wow, man, because like a lot of midlife crisis cliches, divorced, buy a sports car, start out like I'm 45, like probably odds are this is halfway for me, but it's that great saying that a man has two lives and he realizes he's only gonna get one when the second starts.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, you said it earlier. You made an allusion to sort of a thing that I closed my business, and a summer and fall of depression and
Yeah.
kind of battling all of that.
Yeah.
And the one that I see an addiction counselor regularly, excuse me, and he always says to me, he goes, what'd you get sober for if you're just going to be fucking miserable all the time?
Are you miserable?
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to go through
it. For all of the summer,
Yeah.
all of this, and really.
Does it have anything to do with building a retaining wall that we were moving rocks every day?
No. I mean, thank God I had that, right?
I feel like that was somehow a punishment to yourself.
Punishment, penance,
Yeah.
or I need stuff like that.
Yeah. It's amazing what you did.
I need a place to put energy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. I was talking with another good friend recently, and he was like, and he's in the industry, and I think he said he's coming up on his 4 years, either his 4 years or his 8 years, and I'm sorry for forgetting. And he was talking about like the network of guys in the industry, guys and gals in the industry that he speaks to, and they're all sober and trying to reinvent themselves and find, what their place and meaning in this industry can still be.
Yeah.
Or what the pivot is. And he was like, I gotta remind myself just to keep going all the time. And that's not my thing at all. My thing is like, I have to remind myself sometimes. In fact, most times what I have to do is like, hey, Kevin, you need to stop right where you're at because you don't even realize where you're going anymore. You're just walking to keep moving.
Yeah.
Just because the movement makes you feel better. So stop and take a look around and make sure you got the right direction.
I read something the other day that kind of stuck with me, that if you aren't aiming at a goal, you will miss 100% of the time.
Sure.
Like I'm saying, like, I don't know what my goal is right now. And I feel like, with everything that's going on with like Ellsworth Cooks, and like, I know that I really love putting food on the table. I really love being around other hunters. I love that aspect of it. It's just trying to figure out like, all right, I know I love this. I know that I want this to be a part of it, but what is my goal? Like,
And what a cool opportunity that you have right now to almost kind of like build that parachute in mid free fall, because you're in the middle of it, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I think that's always been my way, is like to jump first and then figure it out on the way.
And that's kind of, but that's like the most entrepreneurial spirit of all.
Yeah.
Because like no matter how well you've planned things out, there's going to be curveballs and a whole bunch of shit thrown your way, and you got to figure that out.
Yeah. Like right now, like sitting here now, that was, that's arguably those two camps. I lost a $7,000 hit, that I had plans for that money.
Yeah. Of course.
It's, and thank God I have these chops to like fall back on, and good enough friends in the industry to like come pick up shifts, and there's, I feel like a younger me would have felt defeated by like having to bartend again. And the kid behind the bar now, the guy behind the bar, is like, yep, this is just part of the story, and I have no shame in what I'm doing. I'm working my ass off back there. I enjoy it. It's funny to me to like bartend sober, maybe for the first time ever, which is like a whole other aspect, because I'm like, actually taking part of that service that I love and applying it to what I'm doing now. It's the only thing different is like a lot of these folks aren't, in the hunting side of things, but they all have questions, which I, the ham in me loves answering,
Right.
so
Yeah. And, I'm just trying to do I am trying to sort of embrace this like Mr. Mom thing I'm in the middle
Yeah,
of right now,
yeah.
right? It's the best thing for my family. It's the best thing for my kids. It's probably the best thing for me.
yeah,
And it's giving me this opportunity to do like I've just talked about, like I have my my interests have a little bit of ADD, right?
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit all over the
yeah.
place,
But you're
and
doing cool stuff. You built the
so like, but
cabinets here, and like,
as we're sort of figuring each other out a little bit here in the
Yeah.
evolution of our friendship, once I get fixated on something, like I'm full in on it,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
I've noticed.
and that might be
Yeah.
for a long period of time. It
Yeah.
might be something that I kind of stick with long term, and I might come back to periodically. So
Do you write
so-
it all?
writing is something I never really enjoyed, but it's
Yeah.
something that I now do pretty regularly. I journal,
Yeah.
as I fall
It
asleep.
feels good
sometimes.
to have that flow out of you. I feel like that's like,
So this, right? So
Yeah.
like this podcast, this opportunity to kind of work in some kind of like multimedia extensions of things here is kind of reminiscent of my background in theater,
Yeah.
and kind of drawing from that and allowing me, how many people while the butcher shop was open kept saying, so when are you going to do some theater? When are you going to scratch that itch again?
Yeah.
Right. And maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. Maybe when my kids get older and they show some interest in it, maybe I'll, have
Yeah.
opportunities to be more involved in it. But like, my experience so far with producing this podcast with you has been really, really enjoyable to be able to kind
it's
of
been
like
neat to watch.
flex those muscles and kind of scratch that itch and like rediscover that kind of like enjoyment in this.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's a really good reason why we're doing this. And I think where we're at now is that we have this exterior, whatever this is, to give the people like our collective knowledge from, what you're doing, or from what I call you all the time on cooking stuff. Like I think I called you do you want to take a huge log of meat and smoke it for me? I'm asking you now to make it awkward.
perfect.
Yes. But I call you all the time on stuff. Like I was, so,
You texted me yesterday.
yeah, well, I was
About
worried
summer
about,
sausage.
I was worried about how long that's been on cure,
Yeah.
but it's,
And just to further your knowledge on it. So if your ratio of meat to cure is right, it doesn't matter how long it sits on it, really. Food safety is food safety at that point, right?
it's weird in the package. It's like, do not do for more than 24 hours.
So so that's the only difference is you're using that like Tender Quick stuff, or
I don't know. It was in a kit. So it's the first time I've ever done summer sausage, which I was really excited about.
So the only difference there. So if I was going to make summer sausage, I would have just used curing salt, and I would have used a starting culture, right? And I would have intentionally left it to sit for a period of time to incubate, because I want that bacteria to ferment, give not just a flavor profile, but a food safety inside of that sausage, right? So I don't know what that product does.
I'll share you you know what it looked like? It looked like it wasn't pink salts. It looked exactly like the cure you'd use for like a jerky kit. So it's like a sodium nitrate.
So that, again, so this is where I can't wait to have more conversations about it with you, because that's where kind of like the culinary world and the hunting world kind of really meet in the center and are speaking such different languages.
100%.
You say curing, and we talk about things and the understanding of what those words mean on both sides, both using the exact same words, is very, very different. So that's gonna be a fun conversation.
I think this is where this is going to be interesting to a lot of folks too, is that from my experience in Ellsworth Cooks is like a hunter does not a cook make. The folks I'm dealing with that, are harvesting these animals, killing. I want to stop saying harvest. I'm working on that. killing these animals because you're killing something to, use it for your own sustenance.
Well, you kill it, but then you harvest it. And I think your problem is sometimes these guys don't actually harvest an animal.
Well, it's unfortunate. Yeah. And I think it's because they don't understand. I had somebody reach out to me the other day that's like, how are you eating so much venison? I'm like, I kill a pile of deer every year. And it's not because a lot of me used to be like that number was something like, oh, I killed 7 or 8 deer this year. What I didn't realize is that like Amy and I eat 6 deer a year between us. And I'm super glad that I have that chop that's been with me no matter what. And the way I grew up, like consuming venison was that everything had a plate. Like, we're backstraps and tenderloins. We're going to eat them for breakfast. Tenderloins never made it to the freezer. They're for breakfast all the time. Backstrap maybe made it to the freezer depending on how your year was going, but you're going to eat them pretty much all the time. Front shoulders, sausage, which was a mistake. Hindquarters always to, steaks or jerky or whatever it was. My old man, Bump, who I consider my old man, he was my last stepdad. My mom was married to him for the longest. He's been a part of my life the longest. He grew up poor, like redneck, Dansville. Like those guys were not killing deer because I'm sure they enjoyed it, but at the same time they were doing it to live. So every part of that animal had like a place on the table. And like from ribs to, everything nothing was going to waste. And I thought that's just how it was. I just thought that's how it was. And that is not the case. There's, and you can't take it away from them, but there's guys that really just only care about the antlers. And I can't look at those guys and say, you're doing it wrong, because as a whole, that opens up another conversation that is not a fun conversation to have. I think where my new journey is taking me is to help those guys realize what they have.
Well, I look forward to more episodes just about that, man. I think it's going to be great. Yeah. So I think the concept of, you and I talking about, food from different angles, talking about life from different angles, right? We did a lot of life today. We didn't do a lot of food, and that's fine. Cause like, I love that.
Could we just say there would be no life without food?
And there we are. Circle of life.
Circle of life.
Egg, chicken. Oh,
dinosaurs, man. Chickens are dinosaurs.
Aliens.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mushrooms.
Yeah. Yep. I'm in.
DMT.
We're going a little Rogan-esque.
I mean, we were heading down that route. Listen, appreciate you.
Yeah.
I think that us having those conversations all around the board is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a really cool output for us, and it seems like a lot of folks are interested in where you're headed, where I'm headed, and it's cool to like have.
I think they're more interested if we're going to be heading into a brick wall.
A train wreck's fun to watch.
It wouldn't be the first time I've hit a brick wall. So yeah, I mean,
I think that's
stay tuned.
I said it not too long ago. It was like, a train wreck is fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
That was the past 10 years of my life. Like, what's going to happen next?
Well, and and at some point, people are going to want to listen, because I am at some point going to tell people what the recipe is for the pancakes.
Oh, wow.
How to make them pancakes.
No.
I'm going to. Yeah,
real?
no. I mean, maybe it's next episode.
Yeah.
It might be next episode. I mean,
that being said,
they'll have to tune in and see.
I have a secret family recipe.
Yeah?
Yep.
For Munda?
No. My old man's great grandmother's venison sausage recipe. That I know he is not technical enough to ever listen to this, and to put that out in the world might be bad juju for me, but it exists.
On the next episode,
Secret
Jason
recipes.
gives away all the fishing holes.
Oh,
tune in.
I didn't say that. How do you make sure I never get invited fishing again?